at the end of the year, we're going to like renew this contract. And it was like, keep going. I didn't know that you were planning to end the contract and find somebody else. But that's what she said she told me. Now, I totally disagree, but whatever. So hi guys, welcome back to another video. So this particular topic has been something that I have testified about before, but I've never done it on camera, right? And when you recognize like the goodness of God in your life, you can't help it, right? There is literally nothing you can do but tell others about what he has done for you, right? So you remember the story of the woman at the well, like when she came in contact with God, just how excited she was to just go and tell everyone, like, come see a man, you know, who has done all these wonderful things. So, like, he knew about my life without me even explaining it. Yeah, that fire that she had to just like run and tell others. I think that's the same kind of spirit that we should have, especially as Christians, to tell others about what God has done for us. All right, so for this particular testimony, I want to focus on one of my favorite scriptures. All right, it's Romans 8 verse 28. All right, and it says,
and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose.
No, I just want you guys to like zone in on that verse. First of all, the entire Romans chapter 8 is just something, it's just a beautiful chapter overall. I think it's my favorite Bible chapter in and of itself. It's just absolutely amazing. But that particular verse has been somewhat of a mantra for me in my life, because I have seen God do things, and then like no matter how it didn't go according to plan at first, it always, and I mean always, worked out for my good in the end. All right, so whether I didn't get something I was planning to get, or things didn't work out how I wanted it to work out, by the end of it all, and I might not have noticed in the moment, and sometimes I don't realize until years later what God is doing. And I think this is what happened in this particular scenario. All right, so this particular testimony began in 2021. When I say far, that's long time ago. So how it really began is when my now husband and I began to like rekindle our bond, right? So we were friends, right? We were friends. We dated in 2018, we broke up, and then we rekindled 2021 to like move from virtual like texting, because we used to like text like every now and again, like, hey, how are you doing? But it was like very sporadic moments, like in between months apart, that kind of thing. So in about December 2021, we started to like do link ups, because we wanted to do I wanted to do like Bible studies and that kind of thing, and I knew that he was really growing it in that area at the time. So I wanted to basically get, you know, some support, because I was feeling like really low. You know, like you need friends, you need people on this Christian journey. All right, don't feel like I can do it by yourself. And then that's something that I have always been aware of, and I've always been the kind of person to like reach out to people and like ask for support. And I think Bible studies and that kind of thing was one of the ways that I did that at the time. Right, so 2021, remember, we're still kind of like semi-COVID-ish. This time they kind of figure things out, so it wasn't as bad. You could go out to like restaurants, that kind of thing. So we're kind of like eating out sometimes, and you know, reading. I think we're reading like Daniel and stuff like that. Anyway, things got serious, obviously. Things got way more serious than we initially anticipated. And of course, as you can imagine, a part of that came with like relocation plans, because we were in two separate parishes, right? I was in Kingston and he was way over, way. So we decided that, you know, since he was more financially stable than I was, because I was doing freelancing, and as you know, that's not very stable to like start a family on and that kind of thing. So I was working at the time, and I was working part-time, but I was also doing freelancing like for myself. I was working at a doctor's office. I was also seeing home patients. So I was kind of like just free-spirited kids, just doing my thing, just going about like sailing in the wind, my kind of vibe of a life. But of course, when you settle down, that's not necessarily something that is sustainable, and you can't really sustain a household on that kind of life, right? So I knew that coming up, we were going to have to I was going to have to kind of stabilize a little more so that things could flow. All right. It's way better to have a 2-income household, like 2 steady incomes, than just 1.5, right? Of course, naturally. So talks came up of me actually moving to where he was. And one of the things that I had to do was to consider the public sector in order to gain that stability that we just talked about, right? Now, if you know me, you know just how much I was absolutely against the public sector, because at the time, what they were paying was just like ridiculous, because I could have made what they were paying like in 1 month of doing part-time privately, right? And I could make that part-time privately, and then on top of what I would make freelancing. So my salary far surpassed what they were paying in the public sector at the time, right? The time when it talks came about in about early 2022. So I was just like, no, I'm not doing public sector. I'm totally against it. They don't pay well. They overwork you. You are locked in. And if you know me, as I have been saying, I'm free-spirited. I want to go about. I want to do freelancing, right? I like to set my own hours. I want to be free while dictating my own hours. I don't want nobody dictating to me and nobody over my back with a whip. Oh, you have to do this. You have to do that. Because sometimes it can be like that, especially depending on the environment that you choose to go in. So I was just like, no, we're not doing that. So I was staunchly against public sector at all costs, right? Right. So anyway, it was something that he was like, yeah, I know that's not what you want to do ideally, but it would, stabilize us a lot more. All right, cool, no problem. So I was there still not feeling it, but I think I did shut down the idea entirely. I did shut it down a number of times, but he kept bringing it back up. And I was just like, why are you so annoying with this? Why are you stressing me about this? I already explained to you that it's not something that I want to do. And no matter how many times you bring it up, I was just like, this is not something that I want to do. You knew before, right? Before you take me up. So this was something that I did not want to do. So I was still kind of in that space, in that stubborn mentality of just absolutely not. That's not what I want to do. That's not where God wants me to go, right? Or was that just me? I think that was just me. But anyway, as God would have it, by the end of 2022, the job that I was in, according to her, my contract ended, which was not my understanding when I signed up for that job. It was not my understanding that it was going to end. Anyway, was this God making a move? I was just like, how could she do this to me? So the contract ended, but I thought it was going to be renewed, right? Because it was the agreement that I thought we had was that at the end of the year, we're going to renew this contract. And it was keep going. I didn't know that you were planning to end the contract and find somebody else. But that's what she said she told me. Now, I totally disagree, but whatever. Anyway, she basically ended the contract, so now I was basically out of a job, which was one of the main sources of income, right? So that one was, so even though I was doing the freelancing, it wasn't bringing in as much money as the part-time job. So no, I was kind of I have nothing to hold on to, right? So I'm here, but I have absolutely nothing to hold on to at this point. So of course, the conversation came up again, back on the table, hey, you know what? Just try to apply. And on top of that, oh yes, some vacancies came out for the same post that he was telling me about, in his parish, right? So some new vacancies came up for that particular hospital, and I was just like, oh my gosh. All right, fine. You know what? I'm just gonna apply. So I applied in about December. I got called to do the interview in about January. Now, when I'm doing this interview, I'm very serious, first of all, about life in general. Even if I don't want to do it willingly, I'm still gonna put my best foot forward, right? Which I did. And lo and behold, I got called in February, right? That I had gotten the job. By this time, we had already gotten married. But we were married January 29, right? So this is 2023 now, right? So remember, lost a job, end of 2022, got married, end of January 2023. I did the interview like around January 26th, I think, 2023. And then I got called to say that I actually got the job in February. So by this time, I had already moved down to his side because I had absolutely nothing, no reason to stay, right? Because I lost the job. So I had no reason to stay. Yes, I could do freelancing, but as I said, it wasn't going to be stable and I didn't want us to be apart. So for him to leave his parish to come to where I am, when now I had absolutely no leg to stand on, did not make sense. All right, I hope you're following the story. So it made more sense for me to come to where he was. So that's what I did. I just moved and I came down here. So I wasn't working for January. I wasn't working for February. I don't think they called me in to actually start working in March, right? So for a period of a full month and a couple weeks, I wasn't really working, right? And that took a toll on me too, because, just going from someone who's like busy, 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 for someone who's just like at home all the time, that time was very, very depressing for me. I was not meant to stay home. Full stop. I want to work. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know. I want to go out and work, but I probably don't want to work like 5 days a week. But that's a story for another day. But I definitely still need to go outside and interact with other people, not just myself and my husband. So I need to see people, meet people, and tap into my extroverted side a little bit. So yeah, when I actually started working at this particular hospital, I would have noticed that there were quite a lot of young people, right? There were lots of young people that my age, which was nice, and also probably like a few years younger. But the vibe and just the atmosphere at this particular job was different. It was unlike anything I had experienced at any other public hospital, and I had worked at several of them before, right? So I kind of had an idea of what the culture was and which place I definitely need to go work, but I've never been here before. And this hospital literally changed my view, changed my outlook. And not only that, but I forgot to mention that in late 2022, they had raised the salary for public sector workers. So that made it even more motivating for me to even try to apply and do well in the interview. I should have said that, but I forgot. But anyway, they raised the salary. And now I go there and these people are actually nice. What? I'm like, God, what are you saying? What are you doing? Because I expected to hate the place and no, I'm actually coming around and actually like it. So as the months went by, right, these people actually got better. Crazy, right? Like mind blown, because all the fears, all the stresses, all the everything that I had in my head of what it would have been like, it was absolutely nothing like that. I mean, absolutely, definitely not wonderful, perfect, all peaches and roses. Amazing, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I mean, of course, we have our issues, but still, I think that the work environment, the people, the money was just really, really good. I had nothing to complain about at that point. And looking back, it's been 2 years since I've been working there, and it's still good. 2 years in, and I still really love these people. And we have created this amazing bond that is just like, no, I don't want to leave. No, my husband is like, oh, he could get higher paying jobs back in Kingston. And I'm just like, no, I'm not leaving my job. I'm like, first of all, know that they have raised the public sector pay. Private sector isn't doing as well, which means that if I go back to Kingston, I'm going to be better off in a public sector job. And I've been in Kingston hospitals, and that's not necessarily what I want to go, right? Not to say that all of them are bad, but compared to what I have experienced here, it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare. Like, they're worlds apart. The culture is different. Everything is different. Here is just almost absolute perfection. And I am just so grateful to God for, one, pulling me out because he allowed me to lose that job. Crazy, right? So sometimes things happen and we're like, why did God allow that to happen? But behind the scenes, he's working something out that is just far greater than we could have ever thought or imagined. And for me, that just blows my mind every single time, because I'm like, God, you are literally amazing, quite literally amazing. And now I think when I face disappointments in my life, I always try to remember that Bible passage. I always try to remember the Bible verse that I started out with. All things. It didn't say some things, it said all things work together for good to them that love the Lord. So first of all, you have to love the Lord. Okay? Let's get that straight. There are conditions to this promise. You have to love the Lord. All right? Walking in his purpose, or at least trying to walk in his purpose, is also another condition. So I think once we are loving him, once we are trying to follow his way, trying to walk in his way, I think that everything, absolutely everything, there's nothing in your life that God, he can't do. All right, so can you believe I was recording and the camera just shut off because my storage space was full? So girl had to delete some stuff, but we will not be stopped. All right, listen, there's absolutely nothing that can come to your mind that God cannot do for you. All right, I just want you to remember that sometimes things don't work out because God is doing something that is even greater. And sometimes I've seen this imagery before where there was this like little girl and she was holding on to like a teddy bear, a very small teddy bear. And God was saying, hey, give it to me. But she didn't want to give it. She didn't want to give it up, right? And behind God's back, he had something that was way bigger that she would have really, really wanted. Like, I think it was like an even bigger teddy bear, right? So when I think of that imagery, I think of sometimes we hold on to these things. And if we were to really and truly give them up, that what God would give us would be so much greater. So much greater. And if only we would let go and let God, right? So let this testimony be your encouragement. And it's an encouragement to me too. Don't get me wrong now, because I'm not perfect. I don't have everything right on this Christian journey. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But best believe that I have come to understand that whatever happens in my life, disappointments, all of it, I have to believe that God is working it out all for my good. And when God does that, when God works it out for you, you have the duty now to go back and give God thanks. So don't forget that part, Don't forget that part. Because sometimes God does things away and we forget to say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Right? And one of the ways that I think I can give God the highest level of thanks, the highest level of praise, is by testifying about these wonderful things that he has done in my life. And you can do it too. You don't have to go on a platform like YouTube, obviously, if you don't want to. But there are other things that we can do, like, small church programs, just telling people about what God has done for you and just how good God is. It really encourages them. And I hope that this testimony encouraged you, and may it help you to deepen that walk with God, and in whatever way, whatever that looks like for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, God bless you. And as always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. All right, don't forget to subscribe. I always don't say that, but don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, look out for more. I have lots more testimonies planned, a lot more faith-based content that I want to put out, just showcasing what God has done for me. And yeah. So with that said, see you in the next one, guys. Okay, bye.